Hey everyone, I'm Anya Esma, and today we are going to look at the Legendarium Tarot. I have this new little microphone, don't be confused. Usually I would hold it in my hand, I suppose, but since I need my hands free for this, I can't do that. So I hope the sound is okay. So there's a lot I want to say about this deck. So as I am unpacking it, well, actually, I will be quiet for the unpacking sounds for a second because I know we all love that. And maybe you can get like a boost of dopamine because it's as if you are opening your own new tarot deck. All right. That's quite interesting. It feels almost like leathery or I guess fabric in a way. Um, yeah, but before I really open it, let me tell you why I even bought it because I'm not in the habit of buying tarot decks anymore. I don't usually, but this ad came up in my feed and I immediately knew that I had to buy it. So I did. I did. And the reason was because this doesn't say that it's a Witcher deck based on the Witcher universe, you know, the books, the game, the Netflix series, The Witcher. It doesn't say that, but it clearly, very clearly is for anyone who is interested in the Witcher universe. So when I got the ad, I saw a card that really looked like Yennefer. If you don't know who Yennefer is, maybe this video isn't for you because this is a Witcher deck after all. So I'm going to be talking about the Witcher a lot. I saw a card that kind of looked like Yennefer, and I'm like, that can't be a coincidence. The necklace, the black hair, I will show you the card in a second, and the clothes, the black and white clothes. So I clicked the ad, which usually I don't click ads. I very rarely do. I clicked it, I looked at all of the cards, and I was like, okay, clearly the creator was very inspired by the Witcher universe. So yeah, I'm gonna break that down for you as we go through the cards. I just want to say, the Witcher universe is something that's very dear to my heart, very important to me because I played the games in, woof, I don't know what year. I'm just gonna like sit here and think forever if I try to think what year, but it was probably like 2017 or something like that, 16, 18, I'm not sure, but any of those years I played the third Witcher game. That was the game that really got a lot of traction. So I started with that. Then, of course, the Netflix Witcher series came out, and currently I'm reading the books as well. I'm on the fifth book. I think there's 9 books or 8 books, and I'm now reading the fifth one of like the entire series. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with the Witcher universe. I feel very comfortable in it. I'm loving it. And yeah, but still, no spoilers in the comments if possible. I hope I don't spoil anything while I'm talking, but I might. I might. But I don't think so. The cards are pretty like surface level. It's not going to go that deep. Okay, so let's finally look at this deck. It's called the Legendarium Tarot Deck and Guidebook, and I think it was a Kickstarter thing. At first, I thought maybe it's a scam because I wasn't sure about the website and everything. But it's not a scam. I have it. It's shipped directly from China. It says first edition of 500 copies and produced in public PRC, so China, and then by Montezi Limited, New Zealand. So I guess Montezi is like the publisher of the deck. Yeah. And then it says copyright 2023 Mila Victoria Losenka, and 2023 Montezi Limited is the copyright. Yeah, so it has a guidebook as well. Let's look at it. First of all, as I said, like if you hear how I'm touching this, you can probably kind of imagine how it feels. It's like papery, but kind of leathery, but it's definitely not leather. Yeah, the colors are a little bit muted by the fact that, you know, the texture is kind of taking away from it in some places, but that's okay. I feel like it makes it look a little bit vintage. Already on the cover, you will probably recognize that this is Dandelion. Like it could be any bard. At this point, still, I admit it could be any bard. However, he is accompanied by a wolf, which already heavily implies some sort of relationship to the Witcher. Um, and that will only get more clear as we look at it. So when you open it, it says follow your path. Oops. The guidebook followed its path as well. So let's look at that quickly. Legendarium guidebook. Okay, that's the cover. I didn't look at all the cards yet, so some of this is going to be surprises. As I'm looking at this, I feel like maybe it could be a pip deck, because, you know, this kind of makes it look like the Four of Discs or something, but it might also just be or there's like weapons as well. It might just be an illustration and nothing to do with the deck. And on the back, you have a little pentagram as well. Okay, if you open it, you get a unicorn. I hope you can kind of see this. If not, I'll record this later. Ooh, unfortunately, this is a little bit crinkly. I don't know why, but I think it's just the first few pages might have happened in production or something. Yeah, so the Major Arcana, almost all of them have changed names. So you have stuff like the Minstrel instead of the Fool. You have the Traveler instead of the Magician, the Enchantress instead of the High Priestess, the Princess instead of the Empress, the Emperor is the Emperor, the Druid instead of the Hierophant. So we're going to go through all of those cards and look at them. I'll definitely go through the Major Arcana one by one. I don't know if I will do all of the other cards one by one because that will take a long time. And I don't want to make this too long. Okay, so that's the guidebook. Also, if I occasionally look like this, I'm looking whether my microphone is still working because it's a very new setup. It's a new microphone I have. So I am constantly afraid that it will stop recording. And yeah, that I will then have a video without sound or with bad sound or something. Okay, so oh whoa, they have gilded edges. I did not expect that. I'm pleasantly surprised. Just this little thing around them, and then here you have all the cards. Let's look at the cardstock. Pretty decent. I honest to God, thought I was getting scammed. I don't know why I thought that. I think it's because, you know, they said like, oh, limited, just 500 copies in the first edition. And it clearly didn't sell out on Kickstarter if they're still first edition decks. So I don't know. Like the whole package of it seemed a little bit scammy. Okay, so first of all, the back of the cards looks like this. It looks like the back of the little book. Oh, before I start with that, I also want to say, because I got the limited edition, I also got this Legendarium coin. It says bronze on it. I highly doubt that it's real bronze, but that's just the jewelry fanatic in me. It is actually, no, it's weighty, but I don't think it's real bronze. But maybe it is. I don't know. I don't want to discredit them. So it says Legendarium on the back. And then on the front, you have an old man holding a coin, maybe a pentacle. Let's see if that will reoccur in the deck. But that's a cool coin. Okay, so here we have the minstrel. So starting with the minstrel, I think we can already tell, as I said, he was on the cover already. It looks like Dandelion a lot. And the dog that is usually accompanying the fool is, in this case, a wolf, like the white wolf, like Geralt. So, yeah, I'm liking this idea of the fool as the minstrel, especially because Dandelion in the books has a lot of characteristics that define a fool. So I think if you draw this card, maybe it's a reminder to step into your Dandelion persona, which is defined by not thinking too much about consequences, enjoying life, enjoying, the sensual aspects of life, and daring something, doing something where you cannot foresee how it might end for you, and doing it for the pure enjoyment of it. Traveling a lot, that's also his thing, obviously. The books also describe that he is sometimes torn between all of the traveling that he does as a bard, as a minstrel, and also wanting to teach at a university, wanting to go to a university. I mean, he's already studied, but sometimes he has like professor gigs, I guess. Yeah, and this kind of juxtaposition of being on the road versus settling somewhere and sharing your knowledge and sharing the experiences you've had. That's kind of what he's torn between sometimes. And I think that's an interesting addition to the card. Now, the first card is not the magician, it's the traveler. I'm not sure who that is supposed to be. If that is supposed to be Geralt, we will see if there's another card that looks more like Geralt maybe in the future. Let me check if you can see the cards properly. I hope so. If I hold it like this, maybe. Yeah. But the fact that he's holding a sword and has a flame kind of implies that it might be Geralt, but the clothes don't look like his. The face doesn't really look like Geralt. So who knows? Now, this is the card, the next one that I saw in the ad, the Enchantress. Now, if you've played the games, if you know anything about The Witcher, you would recognize Yennefer immediately. Those of you who followed me for a while know that I have a special connection with Yennefer, and I do work with her in my witchcraft, in my practice. So recognizing her really wasn't that hard because it's the exact necklace how it is described in the books and also how it is displayed in the games as well. Her black and white clothing, her black hair, I think it's pretty clear. Now, interestingly, she has these two orbs. I would have to think about that. I feel like in this position, she almost looks more like the magician that is pointing up and down, the whole as above, so below logic that is embodied in the magician card in the tarot. I kind of see that with her position here, but I'd have to think about it further. Yeah. The princess. Mm, Well, so this is the Empress card technically. I would assume this is not Ciri but Pavetta because I know that Ciri will come up later as well. So you could read this as Pavetta. This is just my construction. Um, so you can absolutely just see her as a normal princess. I'm going to, I think the fact that I'm not crazy is proven by this card because she looks exactly like Yennefer uh, in all of her depictions. But of course, I'm aware that I'm kind of taking a leap by saying this is Pavetta. I'm just making this up at this point and assuming, but I think it's pretty clear to all of us, hopefully, that this deck is inspired by The Witcher and I'm not just crazy. All right, so yeah, I like this card the best. But I do have to say that being white and almost, I guess, blondish, brownish hair, I tend to like depictions that look like me, just like everyone else. I love that there's more representation nowadays, obviously. But still, when I see a card like this, I'm kind of like, it's me. So, yeah, the ego in the cards. All right, so the next one is the Emperor. I would say this one looks a lot like Emir. Um, I can never remember his full name, but the Emperor of Nilfgaard or the ruler of Nilfgaard, I would say that's probably the most likely inspiration. That's that. Then we have a druid instead of the Hierophant. I like that figure because druids, well, there are priests, of course, and there are certain gods and goddesses that they pray to in the Witcher universe, but the druids also play a huge role, and the connection to nature, and they kind of stand for um, in this world that is evolving very rapidly, that is being plunged into war, that is becoming more and more modern in its in the way it's governed, in the law. There's like judges now, um, and attorneys, and it's becoming more and more modern, the world of The Witcher, as it progresses. And the druids kind of often are mentioned as a callback to the connection to nature that humanity has lost. And I really like that about the Witcher universe, that it contains that thought or that wisdom, that we're basically losing connection to nature, even though looking at it from our modern world, these people are pretty connected to nature. It's still like a medieval-ish world, of course, with magic. But I think it's interesting to think about the fact that even back then, the druids, when they still existed, said like, you're bastardizing the world. It's you're moving yourself from nature. You're removing your grounding, your roots. You're losing touch. And in that, people are using their morality, their humanity. We see that over and over in the books. So that's pretty interesting. Here we have the lovers. If I had to guess which characters that is, it would be, I don't know what the short story is called, but I no, it's not one of the short stories. I think it's in one of the pre-story books where Geralt translates for a king who is looking to court a siren, or a siren in this case is the same as a mermaid. And yeah, because she's a mermaid and he's a king. And I really like that story. It's a cute one. And what's also very funny about the Witcher books, because, you know, Sapkowski, the guy who wrote them, is Polish, he brings in a lot of fairy tale folklore from Europe. And in this one, in that story, it's clearly mentioned. It mentions like the lore of the Little Mermaid, how we know it today, the Disney movie, and kind of calls back to that. And he has all these moments in the books where someone says like, oh, my sister was locked in a tower for 2 years, but everyone is telling the story differently. They say that she's been locked in there for 100 years, and that she was sleeping, and that a prince came and released her. And they never say that this is a fairy tale, but they say like, oh, this is the real story that happened, and some bard or some minstrel took that and transformed that into this crazy fairy tale. And like this, a lot of fairy tales get mentioned in the Witcher universe, and in the books at least, and I think that's really cute. Um, all right. Yeah, I don't want to talk about these two too much. Oh, we have Victory, because I don't want to give spoilers, you know? We have Victory. I would assume that that could be Calanthe, the mother of Pavetta. Let's compare for a second. Of course, it could also be something in the future, which I don't know yet. Um, but yeah, in my theory, this is Calanthe and this is Pavetta, because Calanthe is known for her prowess in battle and for her beauty and for her um, grace, which the series kind of ruined because they made her into a very masculine, kind of rude ruler, and she's really not described like that in the books. Now for 8, we have the succubus. That would be the strength card, unless they switched it. No, it's probably the strength card. But instead of strength, we have this. I have not gotten to a point in the books yet where succubus is mentioned, so maybe this isn't in the books at all. I'm not sure. I can't remember if there was a succubus in the games. Help me out here. But yeah, it looks very cool. I like the art style. Sometimes I like the art style, sometimes not so much. I think the Yennefer card could have been cooler, but these ones I quite like. Then here we have the vampire. Let me think. There is definitely mention of a vampire, but mm, well, I think I'm remembering the games. I'm not sure if that's in the books, but in the games, in the expansion pack, you definitely have a whole vampire story, so that would fit. I don't know what that vampire's name is, though. Now, next, we have the Wheel of Fortune. Also very cool looking, but I can't quite tell who that would be. I'm not sure. What do you think? Could be anyone, really. The Queen of the Fields. I love this card. It's replacing Justice in this case because it's 11. So the Queen of the Fields, I think, goes back to something that is mentioned in the books, definitely. I'm not sure if it's mentioned in the game as well. Definitely not yet in the series. So I'm not sure about the folklore of this entirely because I think it's based on Polish folklore in this case. And um, it's basically like a spring goddess that walks the earth, and flowers bloom after her. She controls all of the animals, all of the plants around her, and doesn't speak, I believe, but she kind of goes into different she goes, I think in the story she like possesses a girl kind of and lives as her, or maybe the girl was born as the Queen of Fields, but I think it's one of those things where it kind of switches who is Queen of Fields and they get possessed and then they become that, and then they communicate, at least in that story, through an old woman. So the Queen of Fields only speaks to a crone like figure, and the crone like figure then speaks to everyone else like a normal person, and the Queen of Fields is just this mysterious girl. I hope I'm not misremembering that. So here, instead of the hanged man, we have the captive. Well, I think that could be that guy from Nilfgaard. I can never remember his name. Kahir? I guess Kahir, yeah. Could be. Then in 13, we have the Nithing. I read that as the nothing first, but it's the nithing. I'm not sure where that term comes from, the nithing. Maybe that's something from Polish folklore as well, or Nordic folklore or something. I don't know what the translation would be. If you don't know German, I'm German, so German is my mother tongue, but I don't know what the nithing would translate to in German. Maybe then I would know the mythological translation. In 14, we have the Dryad. Also very beautiful. The Dryads play a big role in the Brocculon forest, where they communicate with Ciri, and want to make her a dryad as well, but then Geralt saves her. I shouldn't say that, it's like spoiler alert. It's very different from in the show. If you've only watched the Witcher TV show, forget it. Like, it's very, very, very different in the show from the books. Um, because in the Brocculon forest, Geralt first meets Ciri, and it's actually a very intense story about the dryads trying to take Ciri away and him trying to save her. But I don't want to spoil it. All right, so then we have 15, temptation. Wait. Oh yeah, that was 14. Oh, so that was temperance. The dryad is I love that. Wait, let me call back to that, because everything I said about the druid is also true about the dryads, because it's a huge story point that the dryads are getting pushed further and further into the forest. The humans are killing more and more of the forest, taking more and more wood, and the dryads are killing them for that, trying to defend their territory. And this is also kind of a resistance of the old world, the old nature connected beings versus the new humans that are destroying everything. So it makes sense that this is temperance, because um, with temperance, it has this implication of finding the right measure of something rather than trying to get the most profit, rather than becoming greedy. And the dryads are exactly that. Like, they are very measured. They only take from the forest what they can take. They live in harmony with the forest. So it makes a lot of sense. 15, we have temptation. Is the microphone still on? Yay. Okay, so 15, the devil, is temptation. Well, I think that's probably, thinking back of the games, it's that merchant. I forgot his name. For a long time, a strangely long time, I always remembered his name. Is it O? It's something with O. Ogrim or something. I'm not sure. Help me in the comments. What's his name again? Yeah, I will not go into that further because I don't quite remember from the games, which I played years ago, what exactly his role is. I know that he's kind of deceiving Geralt, and he's a little bit of a weirdo, a merchant of mirrors, trading in dreams and trading in wishes and hopes, which makes sense for temptation and the devil. Then 16, the tower, we have destruction. We have I suppose that's kind of a dragon destroying a castle, but there's also fire. There's also water destroying it. To my knowledge, as far as I've gotten, there's no dragon destroying a castle yet, but who knows what will happen. Now, here we have another one that definitely proves that it's the Witcher universe, because 17, the star, is called the Child of Destiny, which is obviously Ciri. So here we have Ciri. I'm just going to show you my theory with this being Calanthe, this being Pavetta, and this being Ciri. I can see it, I can see it. But yeah, either way, that's Ciri and the severed tail of something that she obviously killed. With her little sword and everything. I love it. All right. 18. So that's the moon then. We have the cursed. What is that little cup that person's holding? Because that cup looks like one of those modern to-go cups, except it's adorned with a flower. A little dagger. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that is. I'll probably get ideas as I keep reading. 19, The Unicorn. The book I'm at right now, which is, well, I don't know what it is in English. It's called Die Zeit der Verachtung in German. And it's the second one of the main Witcher series, because before that, the other three that I read were the pre-story kind of books. So I'm not sure yet what role the unicorn would have, but here it is as the sun. Then for 20, we have the gift. You know, I feel like these cards are really made to be based on The Witcher, in the sense that you kind of have to know what the characters are in order to make sense of the cards, because they don't have so many symbols. Like with this one, it's a woman who has a very distinct looks, and if you know who it is, it would maybe make sense, but if you don't know who it is, the gift makes no sense. But anyways, I like that here in the judgment card you have more of this implication of it being around purpose, because I know a lot of people read the judgment card as a calling or a purpose, and calling it the gift makes a lot of sense then, because it's about like your natural talents. Ooh, I love that. 21 is not the universe, but the great goddess. And you have the three faces. I'm not sure if that is Melitele. I don't know how to say that in English. In the German book, she's called Melitele, maybe Melitel or something. She never gets mentioned in the series, at least not yet. And I don't know if she gets mentioned in the games. And I'm not even sure if the great goddess is supposed to be Militele here, or if it's something else. Maybe I'm not far enough ahead in the books to understand that. Okay, we're just gonna do a quick run through of the other cards. Yay, the microphone is still on. Let me get ready here. So far, I'm loving it, and I think seeing these characters, just like in the Game of Thrones tarot, of which I also did a walkthrough, just like with that, you have a lot of depth that gets added, because you kind of have to change the meaning of the cards in your mind when you read them, because you project the characters into the cards. So then you try to connect, like, what does this character have to do with the card, with the devil, for example? Or if you think about, um, where is it now? If you think about like Yennefer, what does she have to do with the high priestess, and how does it differ from the high priestess? Maybe the only thing I don't like is that it calls her enchantress. Usually, at least in German, you would call it sorceress, what she is, because in German it's Zauberin, and I think in any English versions it's sorceress. So I'm not sure why they decided to name the card enchantress. Well, it's not a Witcher deck after all, but maybe that's why it's different. Um, but yeah, so you can think about her mannerisms and the way she is, and how that relates to the high priestess. I gotta take a sip of water. I would have to think about that, actually. I'm not sure what I would say, because Yennefer is very cold-hearted, because she protects herself quite a lot. One thing I love that the books say about sorceresses is that, because of the whole origin story of all the sorceresses and mages, they used to be usually from poor families. A lot of them were born deformed in some ways, or disabled in some ways, and then they use magic to make themselves look beautiful, normalized, able bodied. And I think in the books it says that you can still see in their eyes, though, what they were before. Of course, that's a little bit problematic, saying like, oh, all people who are disabled or who have some sort of, I don't know, pain or scar or whatever are evil. But I think it does leave scars on you if, as a child, you get treated horribly for what you look like and you get bullied for it. And then you grow up and you change what is on the outside, but you can't really change what's on the inside so quickly. So the pain that came with society basically fucking you over because you were disabled, or didn't look as beautiful as or as normal as society expected you to, that pain is still visible in their eyes, even though they're beautiful. And I think that's something interesting to think about for all of us, how much of the pain that we endured as a child, especially if we didn't feel beautiful or if we didn't feel loved, how much of that pain we still carry today. Even though we look completely different, we've made something completely different out of ourselves. Um, that's just what I had to think of when I was looking at Yennefer, because that's one of the main things that kind of follows her, that cold heartedness that comes from how she was treated as a child. And yeah, that's all I can think of right now. So let's look at the pip cards. Let's not lose ourselves here. Wow, okay, there's a lot. I'm just going to go through those a bit quicker. And just look at some of them. I just want to see if they are pip cards. So here we have the Ace of Swords, then the King of Swords. Oh my God, my voice is a little bit. I've only been speaking for half an hour, but my voice is already like. The Queen of Swords, which could also be Calanthe again. Knight of Swords, Page of Swords, and the Moment of Truth. Okay, it's not a pip deck. It's definitely not a pip deck. There's a lot of images. I'm just going to go through them like this. And if you want to stop at any, you can look at them. Damn, okay. I love that. I didn't even look at it before. But I love, this says Drakkar, this says Archispore, this says Ghost. So it calls back to, it kind of reminds me, do you know the Spirit Halloween tarot deck that had um a lot of monster cards? It kind of reminds me of that. Ace of Cups, we have another mermaid. We love that. Two of Swords, Dreamer. Four of Swords, Tomb. Very nice. King of Cups. Sorry, I'm like peeking at the cards as well. Wow, that's a cool card. I'm kind of moving them because I'm not sure if there's like light reflecting on them, if you can see them. Ten of Cups, Unity is very beautiful. Nine of Cups, Joyful Revelry. I'm kind of digging these little. Eight of Cups, Brucha. Yeah. I mean, a Brucha is. It is technically from Polish folklore, but it again proves that it's from the Witcher universe. It's not a coincidence. God, I have to think about that. The Eight of Cups, because the Brucha that you see, that you have the story about, it's also in the series. It's, with a big um boar guy who has like the face of a boar. So thinking about how that relates to the Eight of Cups is super interesting. Seven of Cups, Doppelganger. Usually they're called Dopplers in Witcher, but okay. Six of Cups, Forget Me Not. How beautiful is this card? I'm fascinated. I know I said that I would do this quicker, but I'm trying my best. Four of Cups, Boredom, and you have a dragon. That's funny. Three of Cups Fellowship. That's cute. Two of Cups Love. My phone cut out, so I gotta redo this part. So I will show you these cards again. The lighting is very different because it's like 3 hours later because I'm recording it now. So let's keep going. Two of Cups. We have something that looks like Yennefer. But I don't know if the other person is Geralt or one of her other lovers that she has. I always forget her other lover's name. Something with E. But I love that story. It's in one of the pre-history books, not in the main Witcher books. And I absolutely adore that book. It's the second one. I forgot the name, but it's the second one. Or some people say it's the third. It's not really, like the chronology isn't really determined, but yeah. In one of the books, it's the whole topic is basically Geralt and Yennefer, and I live for that. So that's Two of Cups. Then we go to the Wands. I will just kind of go through this a bit quicker now. As I said, you can always stop it. And just as like closing thoughts, I want to say that I think this deck is really great for people who are fans of The Witcher, obviously. I've also read about the author, about the creator of the deck, and she's actually from Germany as well. And of course, it doesn't say that it was inspired by The Witcher. Of course, it says it's inspired by fairy tales. And I think you can obviously see a lot of Polish folklore in this deck and a lot of, fairy tale motifs that also come up in The Witcher. So I think it's really good for Witcher fans for sure. Not everything is related to The Witcher. You don't have to like try to shoehorn that into every card, but a lot of it probably is. So I think for fans, it's a really, really fun deck to play with, and I'm really excited to keep looking at it, to keep trying to understand the cards and everything. So yeah, I think it's also good for beginners because the cards, you know, they also have like these little terms here. It says 6 of coins and then accolade, 7 of coins, necromance, which is an interesting one. Yeah, so I think it's worth it to get it if you are a bit of a beginner and a Witcher fan. But also, obviously, if you're advanced in tarot, it's also worth it. But I think there's just some decks that are not really suitable for beginners. So I always want to rate whether it works or not. And actually here, 10 of coins, alchemy, we have the coin that's right here. 10 of coins is the coin that comes with it, with the first edition. I don't know if, I don't think it's sold out, so you can probably still get that. So yeah, I also took a little bit of a deck in the workbook I can't think anymore. I took a little bit of a look at the workbook, and it explains kind of the history of the author, and also has a lot of information about the cards. It's, you know, quite spacey. You know, sometimes you have like a few sentences, but this one, it really has a lot. And then you also have these cute little pictures for the starters. At the start of every suit, you have like a picture from the suit, which kind of looks like it just wants to be colored in. Yeah, but here you go. You have a lot of texts. I just want to read one for you so that we can see together whether it also addresses the folklore behind it. Because 9 of Swords right here, we have Banshee, and Banshee, of course. Oh, I think I'm recording from the wrong microphone, not this one. Damn. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep going. So I'm so sorry. This video is a mess. But I can't change it now. Or actually I can. Okay, I'm back on the better microphone. I'm sorry, guys. This video is just all over the place. So let's read Banshee together. So up here we have in cursive font a little bit of an intro. It's better to see a herd of wild horses charging at you than to hear the piercing wail of a banshee. At least in the former scenario, you might have a chance of escaping. Um, So now comes the explanation. The howl of the banshee is carried by the night wind and resembles nothing else. None of the sounds of nature can compare to the oppressive impression produced by this cry. It's the soul rendering cry of a lonely ghost, the banshee. And the banshee is howling because of you. Fear paralyzes your hands and feet, and your throat constricts with a noose of dread. The banshee is close. She flies towards you like a swift bird and gallops over swampy bumps and sharp rocks, leaving tatters of her ragged clothing and drops of dark blood in her wake. She slithers like a venomous snake in the sand, oozing through cracks, and she will find you because the banshee is your worst nightmare, a harbinger of doom and madness. Madness doesn't recognize walls and barriers. Beware the cry of the banshee. Guard yourself against the night and keep the light in your home and your soul with care. Nine of Swords. Quintessence. The proximity of death triggers an instinctual fear in a person, and awareness fades like a candle in the winter wind. Advice: admit that you need support and accept it. Address your thoughts, conscience, and unresolved conflicts. Meditation: I acknowledge my vulnerability. It's hard and frightening for me, so I will seize every opportunity to illuminate this darkness and dispel all nightmares and horrors of this night. Not bad. I think it's it's telling a story, it's kind of drawing an image of what it would be like to encounter a banshee, but I think it could do a better job of tying that back to the meaning of the Nine of Swords, relating to nightmares, to trauma from the past. I think that step you will have to make in your own brain, where you think about how these horrors that people have made up in the past represent always emotions within ourselves and states of mind within ourselves. It's just an externalization of our own fears and our own depression, struggles, anything. So then, if these monsters are the personification of that, you can work with these cards a little bit easier if you see them not as monsters, but you see them as the personification of some feeling or some issue that the card is trying to draw your attention to. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Do subscribe if you feel like it. Do like this video. Do comment. Would you get this deck? Would you not get this deck? I would love to hear about that. And yeah, I love it. I think, well, sorry, one thing I forgot to say is that the little guidebook also said that it was inspired by the Marseille deck. And I can really see how that works out because the colors are very muted. It's very, basic, kind of muted colors, just blues and reds and yellows and grays. And that kind of gives a sort of piece to the deck that I really enjoy. And it's kind of Marseille style in a way. But because I don't usually read with the Marseille deck, I couldn't tell you in what other ways it is similar to the Marseille. So maybe someone can help with that in the comments. Okay, thank you so much for watching me unbox the Legendarium Tarot. Definitely inspired by the Witcher series and by fairy tales or Polish, Eastern European folklore in general. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you soon.